Daily English Talks. English conversation. Study group discussion. Hi everyone. Thank you for coming today. And I'm really glad we could finally find a time that works for all of us to study together.
Hi, Anna. I agree completely because studying alone has been difficult lately, and I think learning together will help us stay motivated.
Hello, everyone. I feel the same way, and I believe discussing topics as a group will help us understand the lessons more deeply.
Hi all, I'm happy to join this study group, especially because the exam is coming soon and I still have many questions.
Before we begin, maybe we should decide what subject we want to focus on today so we can use our time efficiently.
That sounds like a good idea, and I think we should start with mathematics since it is the most challenging subject for many of us.
I agree with Mark because the recent math lessons were quite complicated and I struggled to understand some of the formulas.
Yes, mathematics would be helpful, especially the chapter about problem solving, which I find confusing at times.
All right then, let's begin with math, and we can move on to other subjects if we still have time later.
I brought my notes and practice questions so we can review them together and explain anything that is unclear.
That's great because I forgot to write down some important steps during the last class, and I need some clarification.
I also prepared a few questions, and I hope we can go through them slowly so everyone can understand.
Of course, we should make sure no one feels rushed because the goal is to learn, not just to finish quickly.
Let's start with this first problem, which involves applying the formula we learned last week.
When I tried this problem at home, I didn't know which formula to use, and that's where I got stuck.
I had the same issue, so I think it would be helpful if someone explains the reasoning step by step.
I can try to explain it, and if anything is unclear, please feel free to interrupt and ask questions.
That would be very helpful because sometimes the explanation in the textbook is too brief.
First, we need to identify what the question is asking, and then choose the formula that matches that situation.
Oh, I see now, because I usually rush into solving without fully reading the question carefully.
That's a good reminder, because small details in the question can completely change the answer.
Exactly, and once we choose the correct formula, the calculation becomes much easier.
Now let's try solving it together, and each of us can explain one step to make sure we all understand.
I'll explain the first step, which is substituting the values into the formula correctly.
Then I can explain the next step, which involves simplifying the equation carefully.
I'll handle the final calculation and check if the answer makes sense logically.
Great teamwork, everyone, because explaining it this way makes the process much clearer.
I feel much more confident now, and I think I can solve similar problems on my own.
Me too, and studying together really helps reduce the stress before exams.
Since we finished this problem, should we move on to another one or switch subjects?
Maybe we can do one more math problem and then take a short break.
That sounds good because my concentration is better when we include short breaks.
I agree, and during the break we can talk about the next subject to study.
All right, here is another problem that is slightly more difficult than the first one.
Don't worry, we'll solve it together, and difficulty is part of the learning process.
I like that attitude because it makes studying feel less intimidating.
Let me try starting this one, and you can correct me if I make a mistake.
Go ahead, because making mistakes is actually a good way to learn.
Yes, and we are here to support each other, not to judge.
I think you're on the right track, but maybe double-check that second step.
Oh, you're right. I missed a small detail there, so thank you for pointing it out.
This is exactly why studying in a group is so effective.
All right, we solved another problem successfully, so let's take a short break now.
I'll grab some water because staying hydrated helps me focus better.
I'll stretch a little since sitting for too long makes me tired.
While we're resting, maybe we can plan what to study next time.
That's a good idea, and I think we should review science in our next session.
I agree, because the science exam is also coming up soon.
Let's set a regular schedule so we don't struggle to find time again.
How about meeting twice a week after school for about 2 hours?
That sounds reasonable, and it should give us enough time to cover all subjects.
I'm okay with that schedule, as long as we stay consistent.
Me too, because consistency is the key to improving our grades.
I'm really glad we formed this study group because it already feels productive.
I feel the same way, and I think we'll all benefit from supporting each other.
Thank you everyone for being patient and helpful during today's session.
Yes, thank you all, because I feel much more confident than before.
Let's keep this positive energy and continue studying together regularly.
All right, everyone, let's meet again at the same place next time.
Sounds great.
See you next time.
And happy studying.
studying.